Hi again, continuing our look behind enemy lines at the competitors for the Commodore 64, and we're going to go back to the Amstrad this time, and the game I'm going to look at this time around is called American Turbo King. Quite interesting actually. This is a kind of packaging that was never used on any of the Commodore 64 releases from Mastertronic that I'm aware of, and I'm aware of pretty much all of them. So let's have a look at it in a bit more detail. As you can see, you've got the car and the American Turbo King logo on the front there, and there's the Mastertronic logo, or more specifically Virgin Mastertronic logo, with a kind of strange black Pac-Man on there as well. And this is interesting. Apparently this game is for the Magnum Light Phaser, also keyboard or joystick compatible. So it's a driving game that you can play with a light gun, which is an interesting concept. Unfortunately not one I can test out because I don't have a Amstrad light gun. And the spine, usual sort of stuff, and you've got that logo on there again. And on the back cover, big splash at the top there saying Magnum Light Phaser again. Action, action, action. Frantic race across America, blah 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 blah, usual sort of text describing the game and a few screenshots. Looks to be sort of overhead view racing game. Quite how you control it with a light gun I'm not entirely sure, but I suspect if we take a look inside the inlay we'll find out. So let's have a look inside, and as you can see there, the tape's got the light phaser version on side A and the joystick version on side B, which is what I'm loading at the moment. And we've got the loading instructions and a bit of information about how to play the game and what the object is. And then we've got the controls. So here's the light gun controls. Control your car by shooting the left and right icons to steer, and by shooting your car to switch from forwards to reverse gear. That just sounds ridiculous. I mean, why on earth would you want to play a driving game by shooting it with a light gun? That can't work. So we also thankfully got joystick and keyboard controls, which is what I'll be using. And just to finish off, we've got the usual foreign language instructions printed on the inside in a rather unspectacular fashion. Here's a loading screen for the game, and pretty straightforward stuff. Nicely drawn random car, generic sort of car. Nice logo at the top there, and the Mastertronic logo at the bottom, which is quite nicely done as well. That's pretty much it for the loading screen. So here's the title screen, which is fairly self-explanatory. Nice little graphic at the top there, and some reasonable music coming out of the Amstrad. So let's give it a go. So stage 1 is a California beach race, and as you can see there's a beach, rather yellow. So the idea of the game is you race forward by pushing forward and steering left and right. You can hit anything apart from other cars, so if I hit that rock there, it just stops me, it doesn't make me crash. So you've got to avoid the other cars. If you hit them you lose a life, and you get 3 lives for the stage. As you can probably hear, there's not much in the way of sound, no engine noises. The only noises are when you bump into things, you get that sort of bouncing sound, and also when you crash into another car, as you'll see in a minute, I'm sure. You've also got these ramps, which when you hit the ramp you go flying up in the air, although you can't tell from the car changing, you can just see the shadow underneath it there. So up the ramp we go again. And the idea is you've got to get to the end of the track in the time limit, which as you can see is 45 seconds remaining. And here I'm stuck, but you can actually reverse. So if you get stuck on a part of the track you have to reverse out and then drive it down a different way like that. And there are several places where you can get stuck. Here's another one which I've used the ramp to jump over. It's not very exciting. You don't actually go very fast. I've got 5 seconds remaining. How am I going to make it to the end of the... Oh, hit the car now. And initially it looks like you've hit the car. Oh, and time's up as well. Everything went wrong there. So, if your time runs out, then you have to start all the way from the beginning again. The graphics aren't too bad. They're quite high res, which I think is why there's not many colours. Not quite sure why there's all these people on the side of the road, but you can run into them and it doesn't do anyone any harm, which is interesting. The control of the car is quite reasonable, but it's amazing how much sound has an effect on a game, because without any sound it's just really boring. So I'm trundling along. I'll try and complete this course this time around. Try and avoid all the cars that get in your way. Sometimes they'll drive into you but you still die, which is not really very fair either. They also seem to die when they hit the rocks, which happens a lot. I know what's coming up here, so I need to go down this side. I think I'm making better progress this time. We'll find out soon enough. I can't actually see how it could be controlled with a light gun, but it must be nigh and impossible. Christ, there we go. Hit the bloody car and I blow up. Car hits, get a bit of noise at least there. And I've got 31 seconds remaining, so I might make it. There's not too much further to go, I don't think. Oh. If I can just keep out of the way of other vehicles. So yeah, controlling it with a light gun would be nigh and impossible, I think. Especially as you have to shoot the car to go backwards. So I completed the stage. Second stage is Rocky Mountain Pass, which is green, and otherwise everything's pretty much exactly the same. Same rocks, same trees and things. But now you get an added problem of, for some reason, there's planes flying across trying to shoot it, and I can't actually get through that gap, which is just ridiculous. So I've got to reverse all the way back out of here to find a place to go through these trees. Oh, I mean, that's just silly. You do get your lives reset at the end of each stage, so I do have 3 lives again now at least. But it's pretty awful stuff. There's the basics of a half decent game here, I think, but somebody didn't do a particularly good job in turning it into a decent game. I mean, the graphics are pretty plain, but they're not too bad, and the control of the car is pretty good as well, but with no sound and all these obstacles that you can't do anything about. See, how is that fair? I was in the air then, how did it shoot me? 1 life remaining and then it'll all be over. So would I have liked to see this on the Commodore 64? Only if they'd done a lot more work to make it a much better game. It's pretty poor. Ooh, just avoided that there, but I'm never going to make it to the end of this course in the time limit. You've also got water hazards here. I don't know what happens if you crash into them. Maybe let's find out. That's what happens. You die. And that's the end of the game. And not a moment too soon, I think you'll agree.